Grade 10, Chapter 1, A Letter to God by G. L. Flintis. Before reading the chapter, let us know something about the author. G. L. Flintis was a Mexican novelist, poet, and journalist. He actively participated in Mexican Revolution. He served as a literature teacher in the city of Mexico. He has written many books, out of which today we are going to read one of his works. Theme or genre. The story depicts the infinite faith of men to God. Characters. In this short story, we have three characters, out of which the first character, Lencho, a farmer. Lencho over here is the main character around which the whole story revolves. The second character is of postman. The third character is of postmaster. Setting. This story is set in a rural area in Mexico. Now let us begin the reading of the chapter. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Now, in the first paragraph over here, we can see the description of the house is put forward. That over a low hill, there was only one house which was set on the crust. Crust means at the top of the hill, it was being set. From that height, one could see the entire valley. Valley in which there was a river, a valley in which there was filled of ripe corn. Moreover to that, there were thousands of numerous flowers, and a good harvest could also be seen from there. The only thing which was appropriate or was a need of hour of that time was of rain. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his field intimately, over here intimately means close, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. Now, over here, we have the entry of our first character, or the main character to be said, that is of Lencho. Lencho himself was a farmer, and early in the morning, what he was busy with? He was busy looking at the sky. He was waiting for the rain to come. Now we are really going to get some water, women. The woman was preparing supper, replied, Yes, God willing. The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house, until the women called them all, Come for dinner. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. Now, Lencho is having a conversation with a woman. Maybe it would be his wife, and he is talking that now it will rain really very soon. The woman who was busy preparing supper. Over here, supper means early dinner. She said that God willing means God is gracious at us. And the description of the field is been given over here. Over here, the older boys were working in the field and the smaller boys were playing near the house. And the women called all of them into the house to come for the dinner. It was during the meal time that when they sat for the dinner, at that time what Lencho had predicted about the rain we are talking about, that initiated. The rains were of big drops, and moreover to that, they were considered as coins. Now, let us take the reading. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain in his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, These aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are the new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are fives. Yes, now what happened? As all of a sudden the rain started, Lencho rushed hurriedly out of the house and he went out to have and to get the pleasure of that first rain. We all know that it is really very essential and important for the farmers to have a good rainfall. Why? Because their hard work, their money they get is from their good harvest. So Lancho was really very happy. And while looking at that thing, yes, the rain was really very good. And he said that these aren't just raindrops, they are cents, means they are money from for him. And moreover to that, he just gave a metaphor to it, that the big raindrops could be 10-cent pieces and the smaller ones could be 5. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in curtain of rain. But suddenly, strong wind began to blow along with the rain. Very large hailstones began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. Now, the analysis of this paragraph says that Lencho was really very satisfied looking at the field. That just look at the flowers, just look at the crops, they look so good under this rainfall. But all of a sudden, his expression, his happiness, his joyness changed suddenly because there was a strong wind blowing, and along with the strong wind there was a rain of very large hailstones, which merely we can say resembled like silver coins. The boys exposing themselves means the boys also ran out from their house. They also wanted to enjoy the rain, but what they saw, that they started collecting a frozen pearl sort of thing, and they were hailstones. It's really getting bad now, exclaimed the men. I hope it passes quickly. It did not pass quickly. For an hour the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white as if it covered with salt. Now, what eventually happened? Lancho thought that this would go within a short time duration, but the condition over there became worse and worse, and the hailstorm continued for one whole hour, because of which what happened, the whole field was covered with whiteness, means it was covered with that hailstone, which over here is being given with a metaphor or example of salt is being given over here. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lento's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, a plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn. Yes, now what happened? As all of a sudden the hailstone was over, Lencho moved out and he went and stood in the middle of the field. And what he saw, that there was not a single leaf in his corn field. Everything was destroyed. There was not a single flower. And Lencho's soul was totally filled with sadness. And he was having a conversation with his son, and he said that a plague of locusts, it means over here, locusts means insects which fly in big swarms or group to destroy crops, that even if these sort of group of insects if they would have also come to attack, they would also have left something in the field. But this hailstorm had nothing left in the field, everything was destroyed. That night was a sorrowful one. All our work for nothing. There's no one who can help us. We'll go hungry this year. Now, Lencho was so much sorrowful at that night that he was unable to sleep. And he was constantly, continuously thinking or talking to himself. He was so much worried that he said that his whole hard work was now in vain. And moreover to that, now no one could help them, and they all will go hungry this year, because whatever money they were supposed to get from the cornfield, now the corn or the crop was destroyed. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope: help from God. But all the family member, Lencho, the women, the older boys, the younger boys, everyone prayed in that solitary house. Okay, there was only single house over there, as you all know, and moreover to that, they all prayed for one thing, and they thought that we could only get help from the Almighty God. Don't be so upset. Even though this seems like a total loss, remember, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say, no one dies of hunger. Now they were consoling themselves, they were constantly repeating that only one superpower that would help them in this bad phase was that God. Although the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what deep in one's conscience. Lencho was an ox of man, working like an animal in the field, but still he knew how to write. The following Sunday at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. Now, what happened? During that night, when the hailstorm passed away, at that time, Lencho was continuously thinking, and he thought that only one person or that one superpower could help us, could save us, and that is the God Himself. He knew that whether any person would help us, whether any person would have seen, but there is that one supreme power, that one God whose eyes are always focused on us, and moreover to that, He knows each and everything. Lencho was really hard working person, but being a farmer also he knew how to write. So he thought that the following Sunday, means the next day, he would sit down to write a letter to God, and he would personally go to the town and place it in the mail. And he wrote letter to God. God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go this year. My family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos. Over here, pesos means the currency of Latin American country. In order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes, because the hailstorm. Now he has written his description. He has written what he had suffered. Now over here, Lancho is telling that God knows each and everything. We do not need to give any sort of no explanation to God. But still over here, Lancho is writing down a letter to God, because Lancho's faith is so much into it, or so much he believes in God, that he thinks that God is not that supreme power, but he might be his friend who would just help him out. And he had written that if you will not help the family, yes, the family will die of hunger. And he said that he need 100 pesos to survive until the next harvesting season comes. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside it, still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. Now, over here, what happened? On the envelope, he wrote down to God. He went to the town. He was a bit hesitant to go over there, but still he went to the post office. He placed a stamp on the letter and he dropped it into the mailbox. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss laughing heartily and showed him the letter to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable means friendly fellow, also broke out laughing. But almost immediately he turned serious and tapping the letter on his desk commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the men who wrote this letter, starting up the correspondence with God." Now, what happened? Once Lencho dropped that letter into the mailbox, one of the postmaster or the employee went to the mailbox. He removed the letter from it. That postman went to the head postmaster and he said that I have never know this address where we are supposed to deliver. And when he delivered it to the postmaster, now over here the description of the postmaster is given that the postmaster was fat and he was amiable, means he was a very joyous and a friendly person. He also broke out laughing, but after laughing he thought about the seriousness, or we can say the faith of God in it. And he said, and he commented in a way that what a faith. Yes, this man, Lencho, being a farmer, he is so much faithful, and he said that now he wants to make a deal with God himself. So, in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with the idea, answer the letter. But when he opened it, it was evident that the answer, if he needed something more than a goodwill, ink and paper. But he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave a part of his salary, and the several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. So now the writer thought that God is not going to answer the question of the, or we can say, no, the letter, but we would help this man. Why? Because he is having such a lot of faith in God. And moreover to that, he took a paper, ink, he wrote down the reply, and moreover to that, he decided that we are not just going to write a answering letter to Lencho, but moreover to that, we would help him out also. So from his salary, he took out a part of it, and moreover to that, he asked some of his colleagues, friends also, to give some share or some money if they would be able to contribute as an act of charity. It was impossible for him to gather 100 pesos, so he was able to send to farmer only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it letter containing only single word as a signature, God. Now it was not possible for the head postmaster to collect 100 pesos because it was a big amount. He gave his part of salary. Moreover to that, at that time duration, he asked his colleagues and friends also to participate. But moreover to that, they were only able to get more than half. And in the paper he didn't wrote long description, but he only addressed with a signature of God. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of the man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. Now, what happened? During that Sunday, Lencho came earlier than his usual time at the post office and he asked for the letter. At that time duration, the postman himself gave the letter to Lencho. At that time duration, postmaster was looking from his office, and when Lencho got that letter, the postmaster was very much satisfied, contented that he has done something good for the person who is in need. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Such was his confidence, but he became angry when he counted the money. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lencho what he requested. Now, over here, the postmaster was thinking that Lencho would be really very happy to receive the money. But over here, Lencho was nil in the expression. He was not having any sort of expression of happiness or satisfaction, but it was contradictory. It was opposite. He was angry. Why? Because when he counted, the money was not what he asked for. It was not 100 pesos what he has written in the letter. And moreover to that, Lencho thought that his request was denied by God. Immediately, Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. On public writing table, he started to write with such wrinkling of his brow caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. When he finished, he went to the window to buy stamp, which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. Now over here what happened, as Lencho was really very angry, he went to the window, he asked for ink and paper, he just wrote it down whatever he wished to write, and moreover to that it was very difficult for him to turn his words into good expressions. And at that time duration, what happened, when he was finished, he just dabbed the page and he gave it. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it. It said, God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Lencho. Now, after reading this, what can we get, or what is the essence over here? Yes, as soon as Lencho put that letter in the mailbox, the postmaster went and opened the letter. At that time duration in the letter, it was mentioned that God, the money which the Lencho had asked for, they were only 70 pesos. He had asked for how many pesos? 100 pesos. But out of which only 70 pesos he had received. So he is still waiting for those 30 pesos to reach him. But now he has written it down that don't send him these money or pesos through mail, because he is not believing on the postmasters or the post office employees, because it might be the reason that they might have stolen. And below that he had written down his name. So over here what we can come to know, Lencho, a farmer, he is having a lot and a lot of faith in God, and he is trying to put forward that God would help him in all odds, or in all his bad times he would help. He would never be deprived from his shelter. And he is thinking that the post office employees or the headmasters have taken the money from the envelope. So this is all about the chapter. If you have any queries, any doubts, you can ask. Thank you.